Hello and welcome to the Matthew Alton Art channel again. Well, I've recently been doing lots of portrait sketching practice in my sketchbook with pencil and charcoal, so I thought I'd have a change, and this time I've returned to very small paintings, ACEO painting here. That stands for Art Cards, Editions and Originals, and they're sort of trading cards that artists create of their original work so that people can collect their work without having to too much expense and also taking up too much space. People only have a limited amount of space on their walls to display art. You may be able to work out from the drawing that I've done on this tiny piece of card, 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches, that what I'm drawing is a rowing boat, looking down on a rowing boat with the water around it. You can see that I'm adding a base green for the water. The reference photograph that I used, the sea was quite green in it. The reason I'm doing a rowing boat is because on my Patreon, those of you that follow the channel know that I've got a Patreon, and it's a group of artists that are learning from each other and inspiring each other, and we do fortnightly art challenges on there, and somebody picked the topic of boats, so I thought I would do this rowing boat to fulfill that topic. So you can see that I've added the green base layer, and it's slightly darker on the left than on the right, and there's variations in it, but it's essentially a flat green base. And I've added some now highlights on the top right for indicating the ripple shape, and I'm now adding some shadows indicating the ripple shape as well. So the ripples are sort of coming in from the top right, or the left of the right of the painting here. You can see that I've moved from a larger brush to put in the base layer to a much pointier, smaller brush. They're Derwent water-filled brushes, and I find them really useful for working with gouache. And they've got nylon bristles and come to a really fine point. And when working at this size, of course, the finer the better, really. Another time-lapse of gouache is good for showing you how the lights that you add in gouache look bright when you put them on, but as they dry they dull up, and because this is sped up you can see that process happening. So it's practice makes perfect, really. You get used to how much darker lights will be when they dry and how much lighter darks will be when they dry. So it's a matter of practice and persevering with it, really, to get better at using gouache, but I do love it as a medium. I've just about finished the water now, and I'm moving on to the boat. I'm building it up gradually. I'm just putting a sort of darker tone inside the boat to indicate that there's some shadow there, rather than around the edges where the highlights are. Putting the wooden benches in a wash way. I'll build these up over time. I actually did this painting while I was with the patrons. We get together for fortnightly drink and draw socials as well, where we get together with a topic. This time it was a free choice, but we were all doing tiny ACEOs for this drink and draw, something that the other members of the group weren't particularly familiar with creating. So we all got together and created our own little ACEOs while talking and having a drink. So I'm killing two birds with one stone here. I've got my reference, and it's sort of fulfilling the fortnightly art challenge, current fortnightly art challenge, as well as being the work that I'm working on during the drink and draw. If anybody's interested in joining a very friendly, supportive, small group of artists trying to work together to improve and learn from each other and inspire each other, then I'll leave a link to that in the description for this video. It's only $10 a month to join us, and it's a really good way of inspiring you to do art. Often I think people who like creating art, life gets in the way, but this sort of gives you an excuse to do it, really. So you can see that I've built the boat up in layers of gouache paint. I'm not far off finishing now, I think, really. I ended up being really quite pleased with it because it's so small. It's difficult sometimes to get the detail that you are imagining in your head in one of these tiny paintings. Well, here's the final painting. As I said just a second ago, quite pleased with it. I think that I've got the glassy nature of the water quite well. It's not a perfect copy of the reference photo that I used, but overall quite pleased with it. I think it's one of the best ACEOs I've done so far. I've been doing quite a lot of them recently and trying to sell them on eBay. I'll put a link to those in the description as well, in case anybody's interested in having a look to see what people can collect of mine at this affordable price range. Okay. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, then give the video a thumbs up as usual. If you're new here and you found me because YouTube's pushed me to you, then do consider subscribing, and then you'll be notified when I do new videos. I try and keep the videos as regular as I can. They're not scheduled, every week at a particular time and date, but, I probably manage one or two a week over the year, average. Right then, I will leave you to it. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.